You're listening to RC Flightcast podcast with Frank Betts. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to RC Flightcast. Today we're getting into something I get asked about a lot. What motor, prop, and battery should you run in a typical, 30-inch wingspan Parkflyer? And whether you're scratch building, a foam board, profile plane, or printing a small 3D jet or warbird, this episode is all about getting your power system dialed in just right without wasting money or overcomplicating the build, which is what I'm capable of doing sometimes. So let's jump in here. I'm going to define the plane first, and we're talking about a plane around 30 inches in wingspan, maybe 4 to 8 ounces flying weight, give or take, depending on the build materials and how much glue you use. This is your typical Parkflyer, light, under 250 grams, often running on 2 or 3 channels, sometimes 4, but for the Parkflyers and what have you there, and for overall anyway, I just run 3 channels. Rarely do I work ailerons or flaps or anything like that. That's kind of a luxury for me anyway. But because we're not hauling around a heavy battery or putting it through 3D style stress, the goal here is efficient, dependable power, nothing more, nothing less. So for the motor, I'd stick with the 2204 to 2206 size range. A good starting point for these planes is a brushless, outrunner motor in the 2204 to 226 size range. And that number refers to the stator diameter and height in millimeters. You can look that up further on Google there and dive right into that one there. It's a lot of good information on those motors, especially when you're trying to decide exactly what you need for yourself. So 2204 means 22 millimeter diameter and 4 millimeter height. And a 2206, same diameter, 22, just a bit taller for more torque and power. And then you get into where people get a little confused here, and we're talking the KV rating. That's next on the list here. Boy, I've got some crappy notes. Let me see here. Oh, for a small prop on a 2S or 3S battery, a KV between 2300 and 2700 works well. A higher KV means faster RPMs with a smaller prop. Lower KV means you can swing a bigger prop slower. And I've got a slow stick, just as an example, that has a 880 kV motor, and I'm swinging a 9.6 prop on it, and it works great. Just as a little example there. But for most foam profile builds, like a small flat foam warbird or small, sport plane, 2300 to 2600 kV gives you enough thrust without cooking your ESC, which I've done 1 or 2 times. For the props, don't overthink it. And for this class of plane, keep the prop in the 5 to 6 inch range. And I got a quick rundown here. On a 2S battery and a 2204 to 2300 kV motor, try a 6.3 or a 6.4 prop. I usually run a 6.4 myself, but depending on what kind of flying and what outcome you want to make, you piddle around with those numbers a little bit. But on a 3S with the same motor, drop it down to say a 5.3 or a 5.4.5 to keep the amps in check. And like I said, it don't take much to burn up these ESCs if you get a little too crazy. For something more aggressive, like an FPV racing style setup or high-speed jet profile, you can run a 5.45 bullnose type style prop. That'd be fine for that. And remember, plastic props are fine. APC style or gym fan props are cheap and will work well. Just check Amazon for that. And if your motor is hot after 30 seconds at full throttle, your prop is too big. Yes, indeed. And if your ESC is hot, you're pushing more amps than it can handle. Time to step down the prop size. Okay. Speaking of the ESC, it's true. Don't skimp here for that. For more setups in this size, a 12 to 20 amp ESC will be just fine. I run like an 18 myself a lot, but I've run 12s on my some of my smaller stuff. But I run a lot of the 12 amp BLH Heli ESCs and my 30-inch foamies, and they don't even get warm. And if you've got a 2206 motor and plan to hammer the throttle off, and consider going up to a 20 amp ESC just to be safe. There's no problem there. I'd rather be a little overkill than under, because I've burned up plenty of ESCs trying to go fast. Make sure it has a good built-in BEC, especially if you're running servos off of it. As for the battery, LiPo/LiPo, 2S or 3S LiPos in the 450 to 850 milliamp hour range is good. I've run 1300 milliamp hour LiPos, 2S's, even 3S on some of my planes where I thought it shouldn't be doing it, but it works fine. Now here's the sweet spot for gentle cruising or slower scale flying. A 2S 450 to 650 LiPo, that's pretty good. And for more punch, or if you're running a higher kV motor, a 3S 450 or 850, and like I said, even a 1300, I've done that and had no problems. So you don't need a 1000 milliamp battery unless you're going, trying to fly for 20 minutes. And by then your thumbs or your neck are going to give you out before the pack does, which is true. You get tired of looking up. But, hey, that's what you get. And, of course, ultimately, you just watch the weight. Keep the entire battery under, say, 60 grams, or their plane starts to feel a little nose heavy. So true. And if you're not sure what fits best, try both. Fly it on a 2S, then on a 3S, and adjust the prop each time. And I've done that and never really had to change the prop around. So a 2S and a 3S, you're going to find your little field box is going to be full of those. Now, I got a quick example on one of my setups, actually. And here, this is a combo that works great on a 30-inch foam board warbird. The motor is a 2204. The ESC is a 12 amp BL Heli ESC. That's right, look that up. And the prop is a 6.3 on a 2S or a 5.3, and a 5.3 on that 3S. But I would even go 6.3 on that 3S even. I'd have no problem with that. And of course the battery, 3S 450 to 2S 650. I'm telling you, a 3S 1000 is just depends on your situation there. If you want to fly a little longer, have a little more nose weight, you just that bigger LiPo. That setup I got gets you a solid climb out, 6 to 8 minutes of flight, and barely warm components when you land. And it's light, balanced, cheap, and easy to swap parts if something goes wrong. That is so true. Okay, and then one note on the mounting. Most 2204 to 2206s motors aren't meant for quadcopters, so they'll have a bolt-on mount. You'll find that out by accident sometimes. I did. But adapt. You can adapt in, firewall mounts using a simple 3D printed bracket or a laser cut plywood X mount. I've got a 3D printer. So I make my own on Tinkercad, design them, take my little calipers, I measure out exactly what I got to have, print it up on Tinkercad, send it over to my little Bamboo Lab A1 printer, and boom, I make as many as I want in about 15 minutes. So, and of course, scratch building, hot glue, and a popsicle stick, firewall is all you need. I mean, that's why I build these little pieces of crap planes, these little foam boards. You crack them up, pull the parts apart, and, print another one out and go to it. But here's some last tips before you fly. Check your amp draw if you got a watt meter, which I do. Those are very handy. and no more than 10 12 amps continuous for most 2204 motors. And balance those props. If you see wobble at high throttle, a cheap balancer pays for itself in saved vibration. That's why I have 3 or 4 extras. So if I smack something, or I've used it for quite a while, I'll just go ahead and toss it and put a new one on. We're only talking at what, Amazon, couple of bucks, something like that. So, and another thing I've really just started using is Velcro to make a battery strap, or I've put Velcro pieces tacked to the plane and then one on the battery, and then I just I can set them just about anywhere I want for that center of gravity. And of course, obviously, it keeps the LiPo from sliding around. CG does matter big time on small planes, especially. So think about that. So for let's see here, what do I got going here? What a mess! I got some crazy paperwork out here. What do I got here? Let's see here. Sorry about that. Hang on a minute. All right, so to wrap it up, sum it up there, stick with a 2204 or a 2206 motor. Pair it with a 5 or 6 inch prop. Run a 2S or 3S battery in the 450 to 850 range, or 1,000. Keep it light, simple, and balanced, and you'll have a blast. And I've had blasts many times out there on a Saturday and a Sunday, just flying like crazy on some cheap piece of little plane I built. And that's your perfect power setup for a 30-inch Parkflyer. And I hope this helped you dial in your build or get past that what motor do I use decision. And as always, if you've got questions, shoot them to me at frontcentermusician@gmail.com, and or just post something in the comment section there, and I'll either answer on the comment section, or if you email me, which I've had, that's what kind of prompted this, doing this edition right here. So I'll try to answer it on future episodes. So, and I'm trying to do these once a week. Sometimes like Sundays like this, when I got the place to myself and it's kind of quiet for a little bit, I'll do these podcasts. But during the week, sometimes if I got a little extra time and I've got my notes built up the way I want it, and taking into account people's questions or ideas, or from some of the forums I scour, I'll make up something, and maybe I'll do something during the week. So it's kind of willy-nilly, but I at least plan on once a week doing these podcasts. Try to keep them around 20 minutes if I can. So, all right, thanks for listening to RC Flightcast, and I'll catch you next time.